have it always available on the website. So, okay, I have the best job ever. I get to work with amazing people, and we have a superstar doing today's VME. So, everyone, this is Jena Simms. Jena Simms is one of the lower elementary science teachers at Wichita Collegiate. And I really love her story because she grew up watching her parents and grandparents, and just kind of how they modeled kind of her passion that she is where she is now. And she has really reshaped her teaching methods. She has lit a fire in her students' lives at the school. She has personally undergone so much with us. Some of you have actually taken the Water in Our Community course, and Jena helped us create that course. She has gone through the Kansas Green School Virtual Academy and led her students to be an ultimate Green School of Excellence, receiving the Green Globe Award, the first school in Kansas to get that done, which is super exciting. But she has a passion for teaching about food insecurity, and has done so much work with that and Tower Gardens. So today, with really growing a green school culture, there is not too many other people out there who represent the big picture, who has had so much experience out there. So we were super excited when Jena said yes to presenting at this webinar today. So Jena, thank you so much. We're so excited to have you. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Rachel. What an introduction. I will just start off by saying all that she just said really could not be done without Rachel. So kudos to Rachel and Casey in particular, because all the courses that I've taken through them and the email that I got, I think many, many years ago that really started this Green Schools journey came from Casey. So I appreciate all of their staff and everything that they do for Kansas teachers. So like I said, my education or my Green Schools journey really started with an email from Casey. And that email actually happened to pop into my inbox. It was I'm sure I had gotten emails from them before, but I noticed this one. And it was right after kind of COVID had started. I think it was the fall of 2020. And we all know what was going on in our world. And I was really looking, as a science teacher, I was looking for a way to get my kids up and active and participating together. And I really wanted them to reconnect with nature, because at that time, so many of us were connecting with our technology. And so it just sparked my interest, that email. And I called Rachel. I said, okay, so I told her my situation. I told her who I taught, which happens to be first through fourth graders. I'm an elementary teacher. And I actually have a unique role because I only teach science. And I know that's unique in terms of just an elementary school. So I can appreciate classroom teachers because that's where I came from. I was a first grade teacher prior to becoming just the science teacher. But looking for a way to connect and disconnect with technology. And so Kansas Green Schools was a great way to put an umbrella around the things that I wanted my students to do, but just didn't really know how to do it. So this gave me a roadmap to successfully do it. And so I do want to tell you that I want to talk about all 5 investigations, but I want to pause in the middle of it to talk a little bit about some grants and how that ties in, because everything, most things aren't free. And so I think a grant, just a quick little grant talk would be great kind of in the middle. So the 5 investigations don't have to be done in any particular order, but I chose, and Rachel helped me choose kind of a great order for us in our school. And it correlated with some courses that they were offering online at that time as well. So we started with the water investigation. And Rachel really said, you need a way to have your students apply, because maybe not everybody wants to be a green team leader. And so I made a presentation that I'd like to share with you. And the presentation is just really easy. I am happy to share any of the things I share with you today. If you want to reach out to me, I can if anybody wants to leave my contact in the description. So here is the green team application that I've used for about 5 years now. And it's simply, do you want to be a green team leader? We are hiring. I ask my students to write a paragraph, explain how they are already being a global guardian. And students in my classroom already know what global guardian means. Tell me why you want to be a green team leader, and then turn it into me by a certain date. I say there's a job description, and these are some things that they're going to be doing. I ask them, are they ready? And I say there are no late entries. So it's important that they turn that in on time. And I will tell you, I have packets and packets of these over these years. I have the best. I keep every single application because every now and then I'll look over them and just my bucket is refilled by they're really, my green team is just 3rd and 4th graders. So we take a green team pledge. Happy to share that with you as well. I also really create a, so sorry, let me go ahead and stop sharing just a moment. I want to start with that water investigation. And so after they have applied, I go ahead and start by teaching them. I meet with them over my lunch hour. So if you're looking for a time, if you're a classroom teacher, you're going to carve out some time during your class. I actually pull these students that I choose to be green team leaders. I pull them into my classroom over lunch and we eat lunch together, which is maybe another reason they want to join the green team. But I start by teaching them a lot of the Project WET activities like Blue Planet, The Incredible Journey, A Drop in the Bucket, even virtual water. And so we do those during maybe this 30 to 45-minute time that I have them in my classroom over lunch. A lot of the investigations are data collecting. And so I will tell you that when you start this journey, something that was surprising to me was the amount of information I needed to do and look up ahead of time. So I really had to do some work ahead of these meetings with my students because we were having to know where our what our aquifers were. We needed to know where our watersheds were. There's a lot of vocabulary that you're going to have to layer, especially if you're an elementary school teacher. Students in middle and upper school might be a little bit more familiar, but if you're on the elementary side of things, vocabulary is a key aspect to the investigations. Some of the data that we collected, the students were started to be aware of the food they were wasting, because just talking about water, we naturally talked about food. And so at the very start of these 5 investigations, my students started talking about composting and recycling their food. And so when I talk about grants, I'm going to talk about our garden as well. We started looking around our campus for places that we were wasting water, and we started by calling them water walks. And I will tell you, water walks are, to this day, one of my kids' favorite things to do. Can you imagine 3rd or 4th graders going and checking the girls' and boys' bathroom, every stall, make sure there's no leaks? I think every day I have somebody coming back to me saying, will you come and look at this urinal with me, or will you come and look at this water fountain with me? And sure enough, there might be a water leak. And if so, you have a direct line, you can report that to maintenance. And I will tell you that my students going into all the different buildings on our campus have actually discovered quite a few little small leaks. And those Project WET activities really have proved to be great because they can see how much water is being wasted. And then finally, in every investigation, you're going to have recommendations for your school. So my students, I prepared hopefully a helpful presentation, and they were able to go to our administrators, or maybe at your school, they would go to your superintendent or your principal or your building leaders, and they would give the recommendations. And so I've been lucky enough where my administrators in my building and in my campus, they've taken some of my green team students' recommendations and they've changed some things. So that even makes the students more proud that they're listening to them and that their recommendations matter. The next one we did was healthy schools environment, which again, I started with an application process. And I did want to share one of the applications that I received one of the first years we did this. And this girl, she was a twin and kind of wanted to find her own way. And so I find that a lot of students that apply to be a green team leader maybe don't haven't found their people or their group. And so she says, I want to be a leader because I don't like wasting my food. I love to pick up paper towels in the bathroom. And whenever I see litter, I pick it up. I also like to recycle. Doing these things is called malama a'aina in Hawaiian. It means to take care of the land. And I just thought that was beautiful. And so we have made a sign, we put it in our garden, and it says malama a'aina. Probably not saying that correctly, but in Hawaiian, it means to take care of our land. So she was on the Healthy School Environment green team, and it really at the beginning is all about air quality. And so the air quality is wonderful. We made some little badges, and we were able to go out in front of our school, take their clipboards. They took it was a big data collection that day. Actually, we did it several students did it one day every on a 5-day week. And so it was great because at the end of the week, they had all of this data on who drove a car to school, who rode a bike to school, who walked to school. And then they were able to turn that into some learning in terms of the air quality. We were able to download the EPA Air Now app on every student's iPad. And that has been a huge deal in our school. I've bought flags, and I have a green team leader every single morning come in, check the air quality on my iPad, and they go and post the flag every day. And so that has been a community effort, really, because parents see those flags. Kids will come in and go, oh my gosh, Mrs. Sims, it's a yellow day or it's an orange day. And so they all know what that means. And it's not just my green team leaders, it's really the whole school that has kind of bought into that. The other part of the Healthy School Environment investigation is an integrated pest management. And so I want to pause and just say that when you're doing these investigations, one of the most important things is you gather your crew, your people on your campus, in your building, in your division that are willing to help you and kind of help educate your students. So when we did the integrated pest management, I needed help. I don't know much about what's going on with our school and what we're doing in terms of pest management. So I was able to collaborate with our maintenance team or your janitorial team. And so we went on bug hunts. And so water walks was with the water investigation. Now we go on bug hunts. And those, of course, are great. All this data collection really ties into STEM standards, your math standards. And so if you're a classroom teacher and you're doing these investigations, you can find great value in collecting all of this data. Then you can have these posters. We hung up posters. I had one teacher, I have a friend that teaches somewhere else, and she was able to do some data collection, and she left these posters up, and during state assessment time, they looked up there and said, hey, I see that same graph here on my computer, and they connected that. So I was so proud that she was able to use some things that I had talked about, what I had done in my classroom, she did in her classroom, and then it helped her students during state assessment time, because we always need a graph or an example of good data collection. Again, at the end of every one of these investigations, we put a presentation together. My students presented it in front of the administration, which is always a great tool for students. Waste and recycling was our third investigation. And I will tell you that it was the biggest investigation. And honestly, I think if I had to do it again, I might do it first because it's so big, right, Rachel? I think we talked a lot during this one. We looked around, again, we started with an application, but we looked around and said, hey, we're not really doing anything. Our campus at the time had gone away from single stream recycling because it got too costly. And so we took a real good, eye lens on what we were doing and what we could do. And so lots of things came out of this one. The trash audit was the most fun day. It is the most fun day every single time we do it. Get yourself some gloves, grab the baskets or grab the trash from your lunchroom that day. I think the first day I learned my lesson, we did spaghetti and meatball day. So don't do that day. But I think the next day was hot dog day. So that was much better. But those investigations, that is where you spark, that's where they're going to find their joy. Like when we go on our water walks or the bug hunts or this trash investigation, they love it. And so we realized, hey, we're throwing away a lot of food. And at this point, actually my first green team, they actually wanted to start composting. And so we were already composting outside, and we simply looked around our campus and said, how can we make a compost pile outside? And they were the ones that found some old cinder blocks hanging out, in a back building somewhere. And We carried those over, we made our compost. So we actually already had a compost going, but we really didn't have the process down. And so this team was the one that said, hey, we need some more buckets in the lunchroom, and we need somebody that takes them out every day because they just get left there and then they end up going in the trash. And so they just worked and worked and worked their tails off and came up with solutions. We also had a recycle rally this semester, and that came from just something that I found online. It was called PepsiCo Recycling. And it's, anybody can look that up. It's free to join, and they really encourage recycling. And so we you know, on their website, they had a lot of great things about recycling. And so we had a recycle rally that semester. And I want to just pause in the middle of in the middle of our investigation talk to stop and talk about grants, because this is a key area. That semester, we were able to participate in the KICK Challenge, which is the Keep It Clean Kansas Challenge through KC and KDHE. They offer some prize money, which we happened to win that year. And we were able to buy a tabletop composter with that money and start paper recycling. And so there are ways to find ways around spending hundreds or thousands of dollars on like paper recycling bins. PepsiCo, actually, we were able to weigh some recycling that we were already doing, earn points, and they were able to send us some free bins. We actually earned Green Team t-shirts through them. Some other grants that I found very successful have been through Kids Gardening. And I applied a few of those and were successful with those. I also had, my school was offering the school collaboration. So basically they just wanted teachers to collaborate with each other. And we were awarded $5,000 for that one. And we were able to create some raised bed gardens. So that's why I wanted to pause and just talk a little bit about grants, because all of this thing is combined. It's like this big roller coaster going forward. And, you know, sometimes you need some funds to help. You, of course, can do everything, all of these things I'm talking to you about for free, but it is nice sometimes if you can have a really beautiful recycle bin, or you can have money to actually do single stream recycling through Waste Management, who we use at our school. Another resource that I want to mention is our United Way was a really great help for us. So we were able to go through something called the GIVE program, GIV, and I'm in Wichita. And so they were able to open us up, and we were able to go into their warehouse, and they have thousands of packets of seeds. And so we were able to start our garden through these seeds that the United Way gave us. So that was just a great kind of a solution to a problem we were having. The next investigation was our energy investigation. And I will just say, to be really honest, that was our hardest one. It was hard, I think, probably because of the age that I teach. And so we were able to buy a couple of things to help us. But basically some energy, you know, like they were telling us how much kilowatts things were using. We would plug them into the wall and plug in the refrigerators that all of us teachers have, or the little lamps that we have on our teacher table. And so we were able to use that, but there wasn't something in our energy investigation that kind of like sparked their joy like some of the other investigations. And that's okay. It just, we continued to do our water walks. We continued to do our bug hunts. We continued to do all the recycling efforts. And so energy just didn't have like that pop for us. It might for you and the students that you teach, just for us, it was hard. I will tell you that that semester, there were several leaders that kind of rose to the top of my green team. And they really were the ones, and maybe it was a lack of ideas on my part, but they were the ones that said, hey, let's make some posters and put them around to remember to remind students to turn off the light. And hey, can we talk to the teachers at the staff meeting and ask them if they can have a person in each of their classrooms have a job of turning their classroom lights on? Or does everybody need to have a refrigerator in their classroom? Like, they were just very solution oriented that semester, which I was grateful for. The last investigation is called the learning community. And Rachel, would you agree maybe it always needs to go last? Maybe, maybe not. I think it naturally is a fit. It kind of not, you know, wraps everything up nicely in a little bow, because really it's about bringing your community together and getting the people around you. And I may not have said this, but you need the people around you. This is a kind of a hard thing to do on your own. And so making sure at the beginning, before you even start, you have talked to your art teacher, you have talked to your administrators, you have talked to your technology teachers. Maybe there's somebody else that really is interested in one of these and they want to come on board with you. It helps get the stakeholders together. We were able, during the learning community investigation, we were able to have this fun kind of garden. It was just like a garden afternoon where we invited parents to come, and we invited administrators on our campus to come and kind of see what we had done. And students were able to talk about the garden, even though the learning community really isn't about the garden. It was just kind of an area for us to gather. And it was just such a great time. I gave away a few Green Team awards during that time. The learning community really was kind of a fun one for us to do. Lastly, I do want to touch on the garden. And Rachel, you cut me off if I'm going too long, but the garden was something that was almost a thread throughout all of the investigations. And it didn't fit nicely into any one of them. It just went nicely with all of them. I just think the environmental science thread without a garden, I don't know, it's for me, it's just a natural fit with everything. So watching Mr. Atchison webinar was so joy-filling, because to see others that are gardening with children, allowing them to get their hands dirty is just a wonderful thing. We were able one summer with all of those United Way seeds, we were able to grow over 1,000 pounds of food and donate it to garden markets. We were able to have a free farmers market on our campus where families came and got food. Now that we're done with all 5 investigations, like Rachel said, I was kind of stuck. I'm like, well, what now? Do I start over? Because, my students that went through all these investigations, they're now in middle school. So this year, when I had the students apply, I said, this is what we're going to do. We're not going to just touch on one of them. We're actually going to do all of them. We're just going to take these pieces that were the most valuable to you guys and your situation, and we're just going to do them. So we continue to do water walks, which continue to be their favorite. We go on bug hunts. We do check the energy in our building. I have a great relationship with our business department, and they are able to give us the water bills, the energy bills. And that is a big kind of home run every semester when I can talk to the kids about how much energy we're using and how much water that we're using. And, jaws drop when I tell them, we use over 1 million gallons of water. And so it's all about education now. It's all about data collection and really filling those buckets, because I think that as an elementary teacher, that's where the most important time is, to kind of spark their interest. When they go on to middle school and upper school, they might already know that they already love conservation and environmental science, but they don't really know they love it yet in my division, my building. And so it's this new thing for them, and they can take ownership of it. Many times the students would go home and they would either educate their families or friends and then come back and say, hey, we're now, or a parent would stop and say, thanks, Mrs. Simms, we now have a compost pile in our backyard. And so you can see the joy kind of continuing as these investigations go. So continue the journey for us, and we still are finding joy and meaningful work in these investigations. Does anybody have any questions? I found this really great book. I wanted to share it. It's called Compost, and it's so great. I'm going to make some bulletin boards out of it, which is another great thing that kind of came out of our green team, is they're responsible for a bulletin board, which is great because I don't have to be responsible for it.
Well, wonderful. That was amazing. And Jenna, what you said at the end, I think it's so neat, because you said, sometimes by the time they get to middle school, high school, they might know they already love it, but if they never had a you at a younger age, they might never know that they had such a passion for it. I think it's been pretty neat, because in Manhattan, we started a kind of a movement with the school district in 2017, that every school in the district was going to have a green team. And it was so neat, because I think it was last year, it was the first year that some of those kids that started at the elementary level were now seniors and graduating.
Oh, that's special.
Yeah, and to hear them, like some of them going into environmental science field, and it all started, and they said, I've had this opportunity to be every grade every year since I was this old. And because of that, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So I just think what an opportunity that you all are creating either as teachers or just in the environmental field. Um, we're gonna wrap up with kind of some next steps. So this isn't the screen I want. And I don't know how to find it because it's a Canva. Can anybody else share? Laura? Anybody else?
Laura, yes, Laura
Okay,
can do it. Hang on.
thank you. It's
Um,
kind of weird. I can share my screen, but I can't find the Canva. So, all right. So what we're talking about, just to wrap this up, is upcoming opportunities. And I know I'm kind of talking to the choir here because many of you have already gone through the Be the Change Kansas Green School Leader EE credential, but we do have 8 sponsored teachers left through KDHE. And so even if you've already gone through this course, like Jena was saying, it takes more than you to make something successful because you want to create change that lasts if you happen to change schools or retire. So if you have any interested teachers in your community that you think, oh, wow, that would be really a great opportunity for them to learn more about this is an online course that takes you through a lot of what Jena was talking about today. Again, we have 8 sponsorships, first come, first serve, and 1 hour of graduate credit is available. It runs July 14th through September 12th, asynchronous. It really works with your own schedule and takes you through the whole process of what Jena said today. It's a lot of fun. The next slide we're going to talk about is we have our annual conference coming up in November, November 3rd and 4th. Save the date. It's going to be an epic conference. And by epic, we like it's going to be very, very cool. So it's going to be Friday night at the Topeka Zoo, and we're really excited because we have
it's
Dr.
not Friday
Jennifer.
night. It's Monday night, sweetie.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, thank you. I just get excited. Monday night. So that's going to be at the Topeka Zoo, and our keynote speaker is Jennifer Smith, who was a previous VME speaker, and she spoke on the anxious generation, and really how nature is the answer. We are currently for this conference looking for not only registration, but we're also looking for presenters. So I feel like in the chat, you should all tell Jena why she's amazing and suck up to her. And maybe she can submit a conference proposal on We Want More, hashtag Jena. So anyway, proposals are open as well as registration. And finally, some information to keep you going. We have the Kansas Green Schools website where all the investigations Jena talked about today. It's kansasgreenschools.org. And within the Green Schools website is the Garden Gate, and that has everything from plans to plants. So much great information, and I love it. Hashtag more Jena. It's trending already. Okay. With that, everyone, thank you so much. But Jena, mainly thank you for all that you do, all the lives that you impact, not only with your students, but adults, and how lucky you're just such a gem in the world. And we're so lucky that you're part of our gemstones. There we go. Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much for joining. Yep. Good night, everyone.